first Native Americans, first Homo sapiens and human beings who had lived in the area, that the Cuestas would drink from the river of Miami, and they would say Mayama, which means big sweet water. About 500 years ago, the Spanish had sailed near Florida, and they had named the area La Pascua Florida, which means flowery Easter. And the Spanish word for flower, flor. Flower, flor, Florida, Florida. Pedro Aviles Mendez, as well as Juan Ponce de Leon, Christopher Columbus, were some of the settlers who had sailed near Biscayne Bay on the right, but they couldn't go into Biscayne Bay because it was about 3 inches of water. We have many dolphins, jellyfish, as well as different kinds of fiddler crabs, blue crabs that live in the body of water, which is also part of the national park. And in 2005, the Hard Rocks Cafe's guitar on the top of the building that used to be there was blown away by Hurricane Wilma, the last hurricane we had 9 years ago, which is pretty odd for the #1 city in the United States to most likely be hit by hurricanes. Miami and Miami Beach at a 90% chance. No hurricane for 9 years. Us Miamians are not complaining, but hey, you have snow days, we have hurricane days. During Katrina, we had a lot of school off. We have 1,000 kinds of trees that were imported from many places around the world, as well as 850 species of palms. To the right-hand side, we have the Great Indian Banyan Tree, better known as the Tree of Life, known for the roots that hang from the top and go down to the bottom to create the trunk of the tree. We have a tree known as Gumbo Limbo, also known as the tourist tree. It peels red like the tourist on the left-hand side, right over here. It actually originates from Africa, South Africa, also known as the water tree of Africa. Bayside Marketplace in 1987 was established for $98.5 million with 150 shopping stores, eateries, and restaurants. And there is a marina in the back, once known as Pier 5, where Don Johnson, starring as Sonny Crockett in the TV series Miami Vice, which might be coming back to television as a new proposal, as a new series, a new Miami Vice for the new generation. He used to hang out here with his pet alligator Elvis, Mr. Don Johnson. To your left-hand side, we have coconut palms. Coconut water is a good source of magnesium, potassium, vitamin C. You can make your own coconut cheese out of coconut. Oh, those are turkey vultures. I'll get to them later on the tour. But if you're dying to know what they are birds and snowbirds like you, if you're avoiding the brutal winters of the north or the south, depending what part of the hemisphere you're part of. We have many coconut palm trees in South Florida, the only part of the continental United States where you'll find coconuts. Coconuts can only be opened by those who have opposable thumbs. Orangutans, chimpanzees, apes, and the coconut crab. Coconut crab, a hermit crab, yes. It eats the coconut. It actually drinks the water and it'll eat the cocoa meat, as we call it. You can also make food using coconut oil. And you can eat coconut fat if you're trying to gain some extra calories and then want to work it off. The best fats to eat, avocado fat, coconut fat, pretty good. We're at US 1. Right in front of us is a road that stretches 3.5 million meters. Well, I tried. Yeah, and I'm a cyclist. I do 380 to 490 kilometers a week, or 200 to 300 miles from West Kendall to Miami and back, 50 miles a day. So you can imagine the roads I take. I see a lot of action throughout the day. You got to be very careful, very aware while you're riding the streets of Miami, whether you're in a car or in a bicycle. Third worst city to be a cyclist. 9th worst city to drive a car in the U.S. This road can take you from mile marker 0 in Key West, Florida, all the way to Fort Cannon, state of Maine, right below New Brunswick, Canada. That's a long way. Anyone want to go to Canada? Probably not. It's pretty cold right now. To your left-hand side, Miami-Dade College, Wolfson campus. They have 8 buildings for the Wolfson campus, about 27,000 students. We have 180,000 students in all 8 campuses combined, and you can learn Italian, French, Portuguese, Spanish, Mandarin, Russian, English, and American Sign Language at Miami-Dade College. La Torre de Libertad, the Freedom Tower, where 400,000 Cuban exiles between 1959 to 1979, after the rise of Fidel Castro, this is where they were processed. This is where they had the medical and dental checkups. The building is modeled after La Giralda from Andalusia, Sevilla, Spain. And on your right-hand side, the AAA, the American Airlines Arena, designed by Arquitectonica, the home of the Miami Heat basketball team, who rode these buses twice in 2012, 2013, when they won the NBA championship. If you forgot that, this was the same company that had them chartered throughout the city. 400,000 screaming fans the first year, over 700,000 screaming fans the next year. I think that was the addition with the bandwagoners who decided to, after LeBron James won the first championship for us in a long time, decided to cheer for the team. Can you feel the heat in your soul? Can you feel the heat in your soul? That's an old R&B song that was written for the Miami Heat basketball team back in the 1990s. To your left-hand side, the Marina Blue, 900 Biscayne, 10 Museum Park, and Casa Moderna. To have lived in this building prior to the recession, it was $1 million. After the recession, prices dropped 70% to $300,000. If anyone wants a contract for the condos, I'll be downstairs. And on stop number 23, anyone want to hop off? I'm just kidding about the contracts. Nobody, Mr. Arnold, no one is hopping off. The Perez Art Museum is in the back, designed by Hersong de Meuron, Swiss architects, and the one in the front, that is the Science Museum, will be opening later this year. Is that the Death Star from Star Wars on the right? No, that's actually just the planetarium for the Science Museum. Financed by Philip J. Frost, headboard director of IVAX Company, which he sold the company IVAX and its most valuable product, Viagra, for $7.4 billion. He also was a creator of the Science Museum at stop number 14 on the city tour. Up ahead, this building has about 4,800 seats together in both buildings total. It's also known as the Adrian Arts Center. The building on your left, known as the Sanford Dolores Zip Valley Opera House. The one on the right, you can just call it the Knight Center, but also known as the John S. and James L. Knight Center, where we have Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. It's also where we have many others, such as Nubu Amatsu, the Distant Worlds Orchestra, performed here. Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella. We've had Broadway performances. In between March 12th to 14th, on the left-hand side, we'll have the Flamenco Festival. And on your left, advertisement for the Auberg, a new condo, one of our 145 buildings that's being added in Miami as we speak right now, as Miami's going through another renaissance. What else is new? 95 years ago, we went through that. The Florida land boom, the first major real estate boom in the U.S., and Lowell Herald, the Miami Herald, the newspaper building from 1960, it's no longer, or barely here nowadays. It has moved over to Doral, Florida, the company. We are very environmentally conscious down here in South Florida. We don't want all the rubble and debris of this building ending up in the ocean, which is why it's taken 2.5 years to demolish the building. You can also see the PAM, the Perez Art Museum, to your right, which the first floor is elevated above sea level because of our concerns of the rising sea levels. And Beatriz Mijales, Brazilian artist, is the featured artist at the Perez Art Museum. $12 for adults, $8 for kids. I went to school for filmmaking at the AI Art Institute, or MIU, Miami International University. 50% of the students are from another country. And it's the building on your left. But for those of you who know the old days of Miami, the Omni Mall, before there was a Bayside Marketplace, if you saw the carousel in front of Bayside, that carousel used to be in the second floor of this building. And the movie theater also used to be here, as well as the Burdines, Jordan Marsh, and J.C. Penney stores. Save a deal there if you go to the one in Dadeland. I don't know about the one in this area. Wait, I don't think there is a J.C. Penney in this area. But we have Midtown Mall. If you want to go somewhere else that's not Bayside Marketplace, you will actually see that in the tour, and it's one of our stops. Please be careful with the low-hanging trees on the right-hand side. On your left-hand side, the elevated platform, that is the Metro Mover. Hallelujah. A free form of transportation. And better view of the building, the turquoise blue building, the Art Institute, where I went to school for filmmaking. We have photographers, fashion designers, graphic designers, audio engineers who go there. My professor for documentary was Bill Corbin, one who directed the famous documentary known as Cocaine Cowboys. If we were to make a right after the street light, we go to the Venetian Causeway, where we used to have the Collins Wooden Bridge, the first wooden bridge that connected Miami and Miami Beach together. Our stop number 24 to Trinity Episcopal Cathedral. Would anyone like to hop off for this stop? Please let me know. Watch out with the trees on the right. Anybody? 24? Going once, going twice, going thrice, rolling a dice on thin ice. Is everything nice? Have you ever seen Miami Vice? I'm just joking. Stop number 24, nobody. Nadia. Zip, zilch, no one. On your right, we have the Marriott Biscayne Bay and the Doubletree right next door. Where this weekend, our bus driver, who also doubles as a musician, his name is Arnold, he will be performing inside here. And Arnold's family is originally from the Bahamas, but he was born and raised in Miami. My family's from Nicaragua, from Central America. And you could say my name in many ways. Herman, if you're German. If you're French, Armand. If you can roll the R, Armando. If not, Armando is fine. Now, to the right-hand side, a lot of the buildings are painted white, beige, peach, light brown to represent the grains of sand, blue for the ocean, and green for the trees. Has anyone here ever been to Key West? Have you ever had the bittersweet experience at Key West? The key lime pie? The steak pie, you can find it everywhere, but they say the best in Key West. Ernest Hemingway was a resident of La Habana, Cuba, as well as Key West, Florida. and we make a left, we can go to Key West. We can also go to the Jewels Underwater Hotel in Key West, or some other odd attractions. The Coral Rock Castle, mysterious. People think an alchemist or a magician made it. It's actually a gentleman who had a lot of knowledge in physics and knew the way of balance and balancing stones on one another. It's called the Coral Rock Castle. And we also have Fairchild Tropical Botanical Gardens, which if you go to the botanical gardens with a bicycle, you pay $0 for being green. They do not charge you, now you know. Ride a bicycle there, you go in for free. US 1, this long road. It's also, if you keep going north on US 1, you would go to the FIU Biscayne Bay campus, or Florida International University. And where we have Aleta River State Park and the Old Spanish Monastery, a building that's over 1,000 years old. Piece by piece was imported from Spain. On your left, you'll see a woman sunbathing, or what is that? She's tanning. That is Daniel Mila, sunbather number 3. He has 3 of these around Miami. The tennis courts on your right were just finished about 2.5 months ago, and the artwork behind it, the little skyline with the red buildings, that was done by Subi Roberto. Stop number 25, the SNS Diner. Would anyone like to hop off for Miami's oldest diner? That closes at 5 on the weekdays, closes on 2 on the weekends. Nobody. Nobody. You can see some of the artwork in between both buildings of Subi Roberto. Every year there are 10 to 20 funeral services, burial services here on the left-hand side at the Miami Cemetery. You must be a descendant of a Miami pioneer to be buried here. There's a section for the blacks, the whites, and the Jewish of Miami's pioneering days in here. Dr. Paul George, a prominent historian, tour guide, as well as professor of South Florida history in University of Miami, Florida International University, and right now in Miami-Dade College. This is where he does his Halloween walking tour on his birthday, on Halloween. He just turned 70. He's quite a prolific tour guide in the area. And friends with Arva Moore Parks, who is a resident of the Roads, one of the first neighborhoods created in Miami by some of our founders, Mary and William Brickell. Mary Brickell, by the way, was from Australia. For my Australians, if you wanted to know, one of our founders from Australia. But William Brickell and Julia Tuttle, the only woman who's credited as a founder of Miami, known as the mother of Miami, and Henry Flagler, the man who brought down the train. All 3 of them are from Cleveland, Ohio, where LeBron James is now there. He's now Legon. Yeah, he has to survive brutal winter. Maybe he'll come back to us. Definitely. To your left-hand side, Temple Israel, like Temple Emmanuel, Miami Beach, not as big, and they have a non-religious affiliated school inside. Population of downtown Miami is around 408,000. Miami-Dade County, 3 million. Greater Miami, 5.5 million. South Florida, 8 million. And the state of Florida, we recently just broke the record, 20 million. We just surpassed New York, thus becoming the 3rd most populated state in the U.S. after California and Texas. Yeah. To your left-hand side, we have the Kia Brayman dealership where you can get your pre-owned certified cars, or another way of saying hand-me-downs. Take them back to a country where you can actually drive fast. And not get stopped on the I-95. Or I could give you some personal cycling lessons and teach you how to be 30 miles per hour on the road. It is pretty fast. I hit 35 last week for the first time, but still working on that canvas. But we have groups that ride bicycle 35 to 40 miles per hour, the pros. Every Saturday there is a bike ride to Robert Is Here, a famous farmer's market, which is way down in the south, in Homestead. Homestead is an agricultural city that was almost destroyed by Hurricane Andrew in 1992.
But here's not plaza. No, here's not plaza. Like here it's now like
Yes, on a flat, yes, yeah. Going downhill, I could probably hit 45, 47. Yeah, but I think the fastest man alive was 75 miles per hour, but I'm not sure. It was going downhill. No, not flats. Flats is 35 to 40. If you cycle, follow me on Strava. I try to do 100 miles right now. After daylight saving in March, I'll go back to my routine, 200, 300 miles. The sun goes down at 5:30. If you're ever in Kendall, Kendall Weekly Bike Ride, that's where I'll be right after work today. I'm bike riding there. It's a bike ride that was created for the sake of promoting safe riding. It's a social bike ride. Yes, ma'am, that is us. Watch out the low-hanging tree as I do some moves on the Matrix, like Keanu Reeves. Thank you. Oh, you like that one? I like Reloaded the most.
From this bank account, and I can make prepaid 1,000.
Now, I've been practicing for 4 years now a plant-based diet. There's a lot of people who are now getting into the vegetarian, vegan diets. On the left-hand side, you have bunny cakes, which has gluten-free and vegan treats on the left. Please be careful of low-hanging trees throughout this area. The old Omni sign on your right, that's from the 1980s. Be careful, watch out. I'm sorry we didn't mention on the ticket, a safari's included. On the right-hand side, artwork by Sui Roberto with the pale face and the black eyes. Great abstract piece on your left. Looks like a puppet of some sort, but no puppeteer in sight. And to your left-hand side, I'll stop right there. Probably hurting some of your ears. I'm sorry, but on your left-hand side, I get excited about soccer. And the fact that David Beckham almost installed a stadium in Miami. It's still up in the air. On your left-hand side, Genius Jones carries those $3,000 Bugaboo strollers. If you want to put the baby in the stroller, $3,000. Let me know. What happens when you get a guy named Enrique who is obsessed with croquetas and he wants to make a restaurant? He calls it Enriquetas, older than the famous Versailles restaurant. It's been here since 1965, only 6 years after the revolution. Technically, one of the oldest Cuban restaurants you'll find. That's older than the famous Versailles. Get out of here, Versailles. You have nothing on Enriquetas. Yeah. To your right-hand side, the Florida East Coast Railway Depot and Yard used to be here on the right. However, this is where we have the satellite art fairs for Art Basel, which I'll mention in a moment. One of my favorite local artists, her name is Krazilla. Krazilla on the left painted the tiger vomiting a stream of consciousness in the form of a rainbow and a woman meditating through all of it. Seems pretty intense. To your left-hand side, the section of an alligator, a modern-day Marilyn Monroe, and an Asian Flava Flav.
Because this is the art center here.
If we were to go straight, we would have seen the Miami Heat mural, the one where they defaced Mr. LeBron James, and they put "Stay Classy Miami" on his face. To your left and right-hand side, this had all fallen to urban decay in the 80s. There was nothing here. Back 25, 30 years ago, everything was run down. There was actually a time when Miami was affected by crimes and violence. However, thanks to Miami Vice, Miami Vice TV series with Don Johnson, he was kind of a poster boy for many of the police officers who were inspired to pick up the badge because of him. Well, also because Miami needed some law enforcement at the time too. But on the right-hand side, these are satellite art fairs, which are set up during Art Basel. Art Basel primarily takes place in Miami Beach. Technically, Art Basel, with all the people who use the name Art Basel, but not officially affiliated to Art Basel, there's 800 events. There's a music festival in Wynwood. There are over 50 locations in Miami Beach, Miami. Even some of the Coral Gables art galleries will participate during Art Basel. We've had high-profile celebrities like Madonna, Lady Gaga, Mr. 305, Pitbull, as well as Jay-Z, Usher, who have gone to Art Basel to buy artwork. Art Basel, between December 2nd to December 7th, we profited about $2 billion from hotels, restaurants, gas, as well as taxi, Uber services, and parking tickets. This is our stop number 27. Would anyone like to hop off? Please let us know. No one hopping off. To your right-hand side, we can talk to a developer of the Hyde Suites and Residence, which they'll have 2 buildings. The first one coming up to the right. Let me know. I have those contracts downstairs. I'm kidding. Just joking. On your left-hand side, National Economic Shops. You have Marshall, Ross, TJ Maxx, and Starbucks. Yeah, we have a Starbucks inside the Target. And you can get your colada Yeah, you can get your cortadito or your café con leche at a Starbucks, at a McDonald's, or at a Burger King while you're in Miami, Florida. You can get the colada, also known as the rocket fuel in America. Once you drink it, the Cuban coffee makes the Italian espresso look like a wimp, and the Northeastern coffee. All the Bostonians, New Yorkers who come down here, ditch that coffee and pick up the Cuban coffee. And then once you're done trying Cuban coffee, there's tons of different Latin American coffees down here. Cuban coffee, Colombian coffee, Nicaraguan coffee, Costa Rican coffee. You can go to Panther Coffee, which we'll see on the tour, for the different coffees from around the world. Before there was a Miami, there were settlements such as Buena Vista, El Portal, as well as Coconut Grove and Silver Bluff, which are now Miami neighborhoods. This was Buena Vista on the left, known as, in Spanish, good views or good looks, now known as Design District. And look, the different faces, representing different phases of facial surgery. Let me know if you need some facial reconstruction. I have the Groupons for those as well, too. Just kidding. Yeah, the Boricuan Medical Center. Well, in a way, but it's an unofficial Miami clock. That's why it's important. Our little Big Ben. We're gonna have to build some digital clock on a tower on Brickell to kind of have a new modern Miami clock.